Alright, what's going on, guys? It is your boy TKD. Want to here back in Blazing Swords. We are about 12 days away from God of War Ragnarok, and this week we did get a combat and enemies trailer that I will be breaking down here in this video. And luckily, also, at least for me, luckily, you know what I'm saying, there is a launch trailer as well that is already out. It's about 30 seconds long. It's not that crazy. There's no new footage in there, so we're gonna focus here on this combat and enemies trailer. And there's a ton of things that I discovered here. So the first half is going to be filled with general information that we get from the trailer itself and just condensing all that info for you guys. And then afterwards, we will discuss a few things that I found in this trailer breakdown. And then in the second half of the video, we'll go over some of the stuff that I found with the frame by frame, stopping, slow motion, all that great stuff will be in the second half of the video. Timestamps will be below if you want to jump to a certain part of this breakdown, but let's get right into it. They reiterate that the gameplay is at the core of God of War games, and they want the combat to feel engaging and get the player to try hard in a gameplay encounter while also not making them feel defeated when they die. They also heard the critiques for more mini bosses, bigger creatures, and enemy variety, which all of these are definitely accounted for in this footage, and we'll see that here in the gameplay. They also say that all 9 realms will have their own suite of unique enemies, from big enemies to small enemies to medium-sized enemies. Like, all of the 9 realms will have their own suite of enemies that will only be unique to that realm specifically, which is a really great thing to hear. That was a big critique that a lot of people had in God of War 2018, even myself as well. So really cool to see that they are really fleshing out that enemy variety in God of War Ragnarok. In Niflheim though, as opposed to fighting dark elves like in God of War 2018, we'll be fighting the light elves, with one of them named a light elf warrior as an enemy type. So this is very intriguing. Not sure why we're going to be fighting the light elves in this iteration. I know we've seen that in previous gameplay, but to get it confirmed, it is very intriguing, you know what I'm saying, to see that we are going to be fighting the other side of that war that we saw in God of War 2018. And even Kratos says, you know, hey, like, this is a war where, you know, we don't know the circumstances of what's happened and everything in God of War 2018. So very curious to see what the light elves are guarding in Niflheim, and we will get those answers in God of War Ragnarok. But they do also discuss the benefits of building upon what they figured out in God of War 2018 in terms of camera placement, so they can now create very unique combat encounters. None of that, they say they have gotten down the camera placement of the game itself, which, by the way, if you didn't know, this is going to be a one-cut, non-cut game as well, just like God of War 2018. But in this game, it's been 3 years since God of War 2018, and Atreus has grown up, so he is trying to prove himself to Kratos. So he does have an expanded suite of mechanics that he'll be able to utilize in God of War Ragnarok. Atreus does move more independently now, and now there is no more climbing on Kratos' back. He has his own little type of, you know, harpoon grapple thing that he does and all that. And honestly, you know, that definitely made me a little bit sad. You know what I'm saying? That definitely made me a little bit nostalgic. Like, oh man, like, you know what I'm saying? You sure you don't need help getting up this clip? No, okay. You're gonna do it by yourself? Okay. But if you look at the gameplay and pay attention to Atreus, he is definitely a lot more useful in combat scenarios. He is out there meleeing the hell out of different enemies. He's taking them out left and right. He's doing all these crazy combos. He is very useful. And they also said that he will be also useful in terms with a collaborative setting of working on a puzzle as well. So no longer will it be just, hey, you know, Atreus, read this rune or whatever. Now he's going to be able to physically help you in the collaborative fashion with puzzles that they encounter in the game. So really cool to see that there as well. But in terms of Kratos as well, he has brand new combos and new abilities for, quote, all of the weapons that will deepen the combat. So again, they are dropping little hints here that, you know, we will obviously get more weapons to use as opposed to just the blades and the axe. Like, that is going to be a given here, guys. We will see the crazy weaponry that we'll get to be able to wield and stuff like that. For me, I definitely think that we'll be getting Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, but we'll see when the full game comes out. But in terms of the Blades of Chaos, they do reiterate that we will be getting the grapple hook with the Blades of Chaos called the Blade Grapple. And they also go into a little bit more detail on the shields as well, where we have enhanced shields that can either unleash a stun on a perfect parry, or shields that absorb the energy of hits that can be released on the ground to make a shockwave kind of attack. Those are both in the game. These shields, if you didn't know, they are called the Dauntless and Stonewall shields. They were detailed in the Game Informer combat trailer breakdown video that I did did a few months ago. I will link it here on the top hand card. But long story short, the one that is the parrying one that unleashes like a stun type of thing is the Dauntless shield, and the other shield that absorbs a ton of energy that you can release on the ground for a shockwave attack is the Stonewall shield for God of War Ragnarok. Now, the Game Informer article does include the notion of weapon signature moves, and I think those might be the same thing as combo finishers here, but I'm not quite sure. It sounds like the same button that they use with triangle, but that may be left to be seen here. But there are combo finishers in the game that will enable you to decapitate enemies through building up that stun meter. So this is also addressing another huge aspect of God of War 2018, that people felt that the game wasn't as gore-filled as previous entries, and according to previews from the game that we've heard across the industry, this game is apparently a lot more gore-filled, and these combo finishers could be assisting in that notion as well. So it was quickly mentioned that you'll also be able to pick which weapon you can use for a combo finisher. So I'm not sure if it's like a settings thing where it's like, hey, whenever I want to do a combo finisher, I want to use the Blaze of Chaos even though I was just using the Leviathan axe, or it's that, you know, whatever weapon you're using will have its own specific combo finisher. That wasn't quite clear on the trailer, but note that there you'll be able to, you know, pick which weapon you will use for a combo finisher. And next up here, one of the great things that I saw in this trailer is that you'll be able to do pre-fall attacks, what they call it, and these are just, you know, from the aerial attacks that Kratos can do, thanks to the emphasis on verticality in this game, because he's able to have the blade grapple and stuff like that, so he's able to get up to higher places. So he'll be able to jump off it and then come down with an attack either with the fists, Leviathan axe, and Blades of Chaos. So the fact that he's able to do like a ground pound Superman type thing, it looks dope as hell. It looks crazy. You know, they cannot wait to see what we do with this ground pound ability. And Sony Santa Monica has looked back on the previous games in the franchise before 2018 for inspiration with big boss fights. So that is very cool to see that they are looking back at their history and realizing that, hey, you know, Kratos is you know, able to take on really big enemies. So we are going to get that here with God of War Ragnarok. And they also did a really cool description of describing the philosophy behind making new and memorable enemies through making them be a combat puzzle, where each enemy has its own use and place, along with enabling the player to know exactly what's about to happen as they attack, so they can react through different colored ring indicators as well. And we'll talk about another ring indicator that I found in the gameplay that I might need you guys' help on, but we'll get to it when we get to it here. And lastly, the big thing here is that they want to underline the diversity of enemies, from small creatures to things that, quote, take up the whole screen. So that sounds great to me. Cannot wait to see the variety of enemies here. And with this gameplay here that we are showing here on screen, there are plenty of different enemies from across all the realms. Very cool to see that. Moving into the breakdown section of this video, there isn't a ton here that I found, but there's a few things that I want to definitely double back with you guys on and make sure you guys are aware that are in this actual trailer. So first up here, the markings on this, right? So we know that in God of War 2018, the markings that Kratos and Atreus used to guide themselves to the highest peak of all the realms in God of War 2018 were put down by Faye herself. And so that was a way, because she already saw what was foreseen to happen on their journey and stuff like that. We learned that at the end of the game. So in this game, we have markings here that are similar. And I just don't think that Sony Santa Monica is going to be like, oh, well, hey, like these are just for the player, because if they made a reason in the first game, there has to be a reason in the second game. I feel like they wouldn't do that, right? So who are these markings from, right? So I think they could be Tyr, giving us a path to follow maybe, or we had Selkiz on Reddit that gave me a very interesting reply when I posted it, where he said that it could be Athena guiding them on this journey, saying that she's not done with Kratos quite yet. I really like this theory, but I'm not sure how it all connects. Maybe, you know, Athena also hates gods and wants Kratos to do that, but, you know, she called him a monster. I don't know, guys. What do you know in the comments below? What do you think about that? But above all else, whose markings are these in God of War Ragnarok? Next up, we see Atreus use this like green arrow against this like green crystal type of thing to free this like purple chandelier type of hanging thing. So this, I believe, is our first look at the brand new sonic arrows that Atreus Atreus will have in his arrow types. So this Sonic arrow type was first mentioned in the Game Informer combat details story, and I'll also link it below in the description, but this was also where they covered the different shields in the game as well. So definitely go check out that. There isn't too much on the Sonic arrow types, but we can see when you look at it closely, like there are like Sonic waves coming out from the arrow as it's heading towards that green crystal, and then when it finally explodes, there is a big shock wave, like Sonic wave type of looking thing. So I do believe that these are the Sonic arrows that Atreus will be getting, and it's cool that we'll have them in Alfheim to help us with some environmental puzzles as well. Next up, we have a more extended look at this in between the realms shot. At least I think it's in between the realms, right? So considering that 2 Valkyries that Odin sends, which thanks Atreus for saying that in the audio for the gameplay, like we do know that, okay, these 2 Valkyries were sent by Odin to attack them, to stop them from going wherever they're going, but these Valkyries come from the sky, right? So I'm a little more inclined to believe that this is a space in between the realms that is prophesied to occur during Ragnarok, where in Ragnarok there are massive cracks that will appear due to the earthquakes that we reconfirmed that are happening in God of War Ragnarok in the previous breakdown. So they are experiencing a bunch of earthquakes and a lot of different, you know, just ground environmental disruptions throughout God of War Ragnarok, and that these massive earthquakes and stuff like that will create massive cracks in between the realms that will make different things seep to different realms from different realms originally. And so that is all prophesied in the true Ragnarok Norse story. So I think that this is what we're seeing here, this area where they are in between the realms, right? That's just my thought. If you guys have any other ideas, let me know down below in that comment section. Now this next thing I found is very weird, not sure what to make of it, but we have Kratos here fighting this light warrior, right, on Alfheim, but then we see Tyr in the corner for a brief second, like kneeling down next to a fallen light elf seemingly. Could he be mourning the loss of this life from the light elf, since we know that he was one to broker peace and not wage war and not be a violent god of war, right? But we've seen Tyr carelessly drag a light elf body in previous trailers as well. So which one is it? Like is Tyr violent in this game? Is Tyr not violent in this game? What do you guys think in the comments below? I found this very intriguing. Granted, we have not really seen Tyr in combat per se, but it is very interesting that, you know, he's okay with dragging a dead light elf in one scene, but also he's mourning the life of another one in this scene. What do you guys make of it here? And another thing that I found as well, if we look at the right side of the screen where Kratos is fighting this light warrior, there's this attack that the light elf warrior does where it makes Kratos have a blue type of, you know, circle indicator thing for an attack that's incoming. So I think that judging by this attack animation, it could be for like an aerial of effect type of thing, or like an area of effect type of attack that may hit the ground. But what do you guys think as well? Like, I'm not sure where this blue, you know, type of indicator comes from. My bet is it's probably going to be some sort of attack that will have a, you know, shockwave type of thing on the ground. But what do you guys think down below? And the last thing here, which is not technically from the trailer, but we do get this shot again in this combat trailer of this like snowy place that I couldn't locate in previous breakdowns. However, thanks to Sony Santa Monica's Instagram, while I was just chilling here in my bed this morning, we have the answer. It's Niflheim. They say that, quote, Niflheim, the realm of fog, was once a land of mist before a terrible accident transformed the realm into a desolate wasteland. So I'm not sure what terrible accident may have caused it to turn to a different whole biome from the Niflheim that we know from God of War 2018, which is a endgame realm that was very much limited, full of mazes, and it was very misty and foggy. And what could have transformed it into this like snowy, ice desolate thing? We do have to keep in mind as well that we have Odin's ravens on that tree right in front of us. That is very intriguing. There's a lot of them in that one thing. I have to assume that Odin was a part of this terrible accident that transformed this realm. But what do you guys think in the comments below, now that we know that this is Niflheim in the God of War Ragnarok game? So what are my final thoughts here on this gameplay? I think this enemy variety is very, very nice to hear. I love the way that they have, you know, looked back on the previous iterations of God of War, even before 2018, and looked at where the, you know, franchise was from its roots on PS2 and PS3 and PSP and such, and they're able to really take those enemy designs and like really take the scale and size of those old enemies and bring it to God of War Ragnarok. Really great to hear that as well, along with the different move sets that Kratos can do. Like, Kratos is doing a ton of different complex moves that, yes, there are some that were from the original game, which is to be expected, right? But there's a lot of really cool new stuff in terms of these light elves having this like light crazy attack that Kratos is able to block. I love the way we have the different shields where we're able to really have different abilities through the shield itself, and it not just be just you know, total block and parry machine. Now we can have different attacks with the shield itself, and overall just this game looks a lot more fluid from a combat perspective as opposed to 2018, where sometimes in 2018 I felt that it was a little bit rigid and like a little bit slow sometimes in the combat, right? But being able to have this more fluid and fast-paced combat that Kratos can do with a variety of different moves, it looks really fun to play, and I cannot wait to play it in 12 days time. But down below, guys, what are your thoughts on this breakdown? Was there something that you found that I did not find? Let me know all your thoughts down below in that comment section. And also, while you are down there, do not forget our description. You can find links to our Discord, our Twitter, and of course our Anchor link that we can listen to our long form content in podcast format. Road to Ragnarok episode 4 did go live this week. If you go check it out, we talked all about God of War 2018 and how great of a game it was on our playthroughs in 2022. And next week we'll be going over the predictions episode and the bets episode, and we're going to be making some theories before God of War Ragnarok drops in 12 days. Like the video if you enjoyed it, as well as subscribe to PlayStation Stories to keep up with the latest and greatest in PlayStation. Thank you all for watching, and as always, greatness awaits.